On today's episode of Out Loud and Laughing,
I think people don't realize that Pride is almost like our annual reawakening, and it's also a time where we're all able to just kind of reflect on the struggles that we went through and that the world put us through. So yeah, we're gonna raise our flag, we're gonna be happy, and we're gonna just celebrate ourselves because we went through some shit, whether you guys want to hear it or not. And I think that's where we just want people to recognize that and not think of it as, oh, the gays just want attention. It's not about that at all, right? That's never been our intention. We don't want the attention at all. We don't want people to show up to our Pride if they don't want to be there to celebrate us. We don't want the attention. We just want to be with our community and we want to feel safe.
welcome to another episode of Out Loud
And Laughing.
Get ready.
I'm Bryan.
And Jon, two gay cousins having big talks and even bigger laughs. Join us. Let's see what they're up to. It's Out Loud and Laughing. Welcome back, everyone, to a very exciting and kind of sad and very deep and profound and also very exciting episode of Out Loud and Laughing. I'm Jon.
Hi everyone, I'm Bryan. Was that gay enough? For Pride.
I was really trying to get it up there, and that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to make it emotional. I was trying to say, we're going to take you on this emotional journey, happiness and depth and sadness and happiness again.
It's June, it's Pride, we're excited. Everyone's here to gay and play,
That's right. We are so, I think of all the things this Pride that I'm just the most proud of. It's this new podcast project with you and just creating a space where both you and I can go down this memory lane together about things in our lives and the way that we've processed and turned into the men that we've become. The other day I was talking to my neighbor and he was asking about the podcast and how it was going, since we have actually some really great news coming up. We some really fun things coming up for us, and I was sharing it with him, and he was trying to get the gist. He was trying to understand who we were. He was trying to just give me the hook, and I gave it to him. I told him we're cousins, our moms, our dads, all the relationship stuff. But you know what dawned on me, Bryan? And he was like, whoa.
Oh.
I said, Bryan and mine's relationship is unique because Bryan has had his own experiences the same way that I've had my own experiences, but by proxy, we've both seen it from the outside, all of the experiences. From, it's kind of weird. It's like a sibling, I guess, but not a sibling, which makes it unique. So I think this is a great, springboard to share some more of the deeper, more personal parts of ourselves that I feel like we've kept. And what a great time of year. Some of our our Pride and coming out stuff.
Yeah, we both are gay. Newsflash, everyone. If you guys don't know it by now, then, check.
That was the hardest coming out of the closet I've ever had to do. That one right there. Of all of them, that one.
Yeah, I felt seen, though.
and heard. Spotify,
and heard.
iHeartRadio.
and judged. Everyone comment. I think that you and I have had parallel paths on coming out, right? And so I feel like we could talk about that a little bit today because, it's Pride Month and you and I are not youngins anymore. So we came out during a time when, not that it wasn't accepted, but it wasn't as mainstream as it is today, right? We had to think about it, be in our own heads for years before we could come to terms with ourselves, but also just with our community and our friends. And we were scared, and I think our timelines don't match up completely, but the emotions and the feelings and the hesitations and all of the stuff I feel like must be, and we haven't even talked about this, to be honest, so it must be a shared experience.
It's happening to me right now in real time. We've not shared sort of this together. I think we have a good semblance of what that was like, but I don't know what was happening on the inside. And to be fair, I don't know that I would have had the words to have this conversation with you before now, or the emotional sort of understanding.
Well, I think now that we're more comfortable, not even with just being gay, but just being a person in this world, now that we're both 40, I feel like we're more comfortable with our emotions. We're more comfortable expressing ourselves, which is also why we just are able to have better friendships with people and just navigate life easily. So no, I agree with you. I mean, if you take it back for me, I remember when I first started to have my feelings of boys. Um, I mean, Baywatch aside, because duh. Uh, I always wanted a red
For
bathing suit. Funny.
Pamela Anderson, or the other Hasselhoff, David Hasselhoff.
Yes,
Yeah.
or his red bathing suit. Uh, all the men there, but I remember my third grade teacher, Miss Brummett. Stay with me. I know I said a woman. Her husband was the sixth grade teacher, Mr. Brummett. And he would come into our class and he would talk to his wife, probably like, hey, you forgot to pack my lunch, bitch. Um, so it was more undertone than that, but And I
That
just
would have
remember
made
everyone
me too. That
came
would have
in.
turned me gay too.
Yeah, a little bondage. I remember just whenever he would come into the class and stuff, like my heart would like sink just a little bit. Like you got like a weird little feeling, you know?
I think it's funny that you said your heart sank. Let's get back to that at the end. Will you remind me of that, or should we just do it real quick? In therapy this week, my therapist told me that our gut is sort of like the checkpoint. So
Hmm.
if our brain is the thought and our heart is sort of where the dreams live, like the stomach is the gut is the checkpoint. So when you said my heart dropped, your body was telling you like, hey, we're something else, but we didn't know
Yeah,
how to do
something's
that.
there.
That's interesting. It's so
I think it's
interesting.
almost like probably the third grade version of like butterflies in your stomach, you know?
I mean, I think it's exactly that. I think it's exactly, or maybe butterflies in your stomach is the early example of trusting your gut, right?
Yeah. So if I was 10 in third grade, he might have been like 25, 26. He could be a hot daddy now. Maybe I should look him up on Facebook. Anyways, I digress.
We need to,
Continue.
you dad dress.
Yeah.
um,
When did you start to
I,
know?
so I actually have, a few instances. So like when I was like in preschool, there was this little kid. Well, in preschool, like the boys' bathroom didn't have, it was just like 5 toilets, and like the teachers would have to go in and watch us pee, and like,
Oh.
it was very different, Brian. But I remember like being curious about all the other little boys' penises, and then
Mm-hmm.
also like nap time in kindergarten is a very visceral memory for me, because I remember like
Okay.
it was like a weird thing where like some of the kids would get to like choose who they wanted to sleep next to, because we were all just on the classroom
Yeah.
floor. And like I always wanted to sleep next to a boy.
Yeah.
Um, and another one that even up until like middle school when I had left, I mean, from elementary school to middle school to high school, there was always somebody or something like making my body feel or say something differently than what I was being told. And so like it
Mm.
was hard to really discern those feelings or even enjoy them, right? Like
Yeah.
as a child, because all those feelings did, oh my God, I'm like having a real-time revelation. All those feelings ever did was invoke shame. And so now when I feel those feelings, they
Mm.
remind me of shame.
Yeah. No, I remember if it was we were taught for that feeling to be wrong. So I think that's why like when you fast forward through the hard years of middle school, which that's a whole different episode, but it was, you how alone did you feel? Because I felt so alone. Like I had friends, you and I were really good at wearing a mask and like being present, but there was a lot happening behind that mask. And it was a lot of just like insular seclusion, if that makes sense, right? Because you couldn't necessarily share those feelings or those thoughts or really any of it with anyone, right? We were taught that it was not okay.
Well, it's really funny, right? Because I think that our parents did such a great job of keeping sort of the family unit insular, right? So
Yeah.
this was the '90s. The internet was the advent of the internet. There were so many new things coming up. Our parents were really just trying to keep us safe. Also, it was a really big time for people like kids getting abducted. Like I remember that being like sort of
Oh yeah.
this big narrative. So our parents were pretty scared and they bought into a lot of that stuff. And so they would keep us very sheltered to some degree. So inside of that insularity, like and feeling safety, like, and by safety I mean at home without being out in public and things happening to
Yeah.
you. But without that, now we were just stuck to like having like the TV or our family as sort of like these portals out into what the world was. And nothing that we were seeing between our family or TV like gave me answers, or at
Hmm.
least like gave me context to what it was that I was, you know? And then all
Yeah.
the ways
More
that
confidence.
it was representative, and all the
Yeah.
ways that being gay was representative was either like it was like the clown in a court, right? Like in a jester
Yeah.
court, where it was like the one that made you laugh, or the one that was like sort of the lean on guy. It was never anybody who had real feelings or had real dreams. And so, it kind of fucked
Yeah.
with me a little bit.
Totally. I mean, if you think about it, like, and I agree, like our parents did what they did and what they knew, and that's fine. And I don't think anyone's at fault here. It was we were of the time, right? Our parents were seeing the LGBTQ community with AIDS in the 90s and stuff. So that probably scared them. So the idea of their child even stepping into that world with like, I don't understand it, but what I do understand is that they're dying. So that must have been hard to raise children to kind of be accepting because, I mean, let's be clear, guys, everyone. John and I were not hiding our gayness as kids. We just didn't know that what it was.
Right.
We were very gay. We loved a good show tune, but I think what's interesting is, we go into high school then, and you and I are in the same high school. I think it's starting to be a little more accepted, but I think for me in high school, I still very much hit it. I was trying to like have crushes on girls. I mean, again, my affinity towards Britney Spears, huge red flag, but I still, for me in high school, I was still very much in the closet. I think you started to have a little more of like an awakening.
Yeah. Well, remember, we talked this on another podcast. I went in with like more friends. I went in,
Yeah,
you know,
more confidence,
more confidence. Not more
more
friends,
trust.
just what I had come from a system, middle school, public school, that like filtered me into a school that like people that I knew and had relationships with already established. So across like I went to Plantation Middle School from like half of sixth grade until eighth grade. So that was a 2.5 year leg up on having, a lot of different students. Although even all of us weren't friends, they knew who I was. And so I wasn't really too scared about sharing with a bigger population. But I only told one person, and she told the whole school. Do you remember that?
Well, I do remember that because I remember, yeah, you were close to one person because you worked with her and you're
Hmm.
friends with her at school, and she told the world. Uh, but even the fact that you had the confidence and the friendships is interesting to me though because there weren't any other gay people at our school, and what I mean by that is there was no one that was out. There was definitely gay people in our school. There was like very one that was very openly gay.
Do you remember
But
him?
yeah, I do. And so you didn't want to be that token person, so you hid it even further, right? So again, you in a weak moment told someone that you trusted and you were just letting your guard down, and that person took advantage of that, which is shitty. And we can definitely talk about that soon because that's a whole story in itself. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I feel like your coming out was kind of like mine a little bit. Like I don't want to say I was forced out, but someone like approached me about it and so almost made me have the conversation, which forced me to kind of finally say it out
Was it a
loud.
family
And that
member?
was no, it was someone in college who was a friend of mine. And again, guys, me and John are from the college years where like, the Flintstones where we like etched our homework on stone. But what do I mean by that? We had dial up, and we plugged our computers into a wall still for internet. And so like of course I would look at things online, right? Like who wouldn't? I was in college, I lived, I had my own room, so I would definitely like, whip it out and find things online to like get it going. Um, but this was the time when like computers were still new, so I didn't know I had to like delete my browsing history before someone else used my computer. And so someone used my computer and then they were like, just I saw that on your computer. And so then I had to have that conversation. Luckily, this person was also coming out as well. So it was someone in our community, and that actually helped me form a bond with this person. Um, but then as a result, it just kind of said, okay, I'm comfortable. I told you. And then it just started to become a thing. So,
Yeah. My similar story, except the person who caught mine was my dad. Um,
oh,
that's a
this
great
story.
one. Well, I mean, we don't have to go too far down it. It's funny now that we bring it up. I'd be interested. I'm old enough now to ask my mom some things that wouldn't have asked her back then. But I would love to know what that
Mm,
pillow talk. I would love to know what that pillow talk was like.
seriously, and fun fact, guys, back when the internet was, new, porn wasn't free. John learned that very quickly when he thought it was.
$700 dial up later. I think I dialed Madagascar. I'm not even joking. That was true.
That was some hung ass penis.
You know what it was? And like, here's the shitty part about that story is because I was so untech savvy. I think I
Yeah.
really like tried to do it and thought it didn't work. And I think it was just running in the background while I was actually using the free stuff. Sounds like something I would do, doesn't it?
Literally. That's so funny. But I do think it's when you fast forward to you and I are in college, we're out. It's John and I graduated high school in the early 2000s. We're gay in the early 2000s in college. It was different than today. Even though it was only like 20 years ago, it was more accepted. So I think we were lucky that we had a larger community, but it still wasn't a big community, right? I remember at UF, there was like 15 of us and we would just do house parties mainly because there wasn't like clubs or bars. There was one club once a week that we could go to. But other than that, like we just did a lot of house parties and built our community. So we were almost still kind of not necessarily hiding, but our group was not very like I don't remember like going out too much. It was more just like let's just hang out and be our community in a safe space.
And I think this is why this time of year is so important. I often,
Mhm.
we hear the jokes, we hear the banter and the little side chatter around like, oh, the straight parade or this, that, and the other. And it's kind of like, and we don't have to, I don't want to even lean into or play into that narrative really, but
Yeah.
all I mean to say is, this one time a year allows us to really put as much visual, emotional storytelling, uh, example of setting examples, sharing success stories of overcoming lots of things. This is the one time of the year that we try to blast our community with a lot of like content, a lot of joy, a lot of parading, a lot of rainbows. Because you know why? Because the rest of the year we are just again rescinded back into the background of living this sort of like very, very normalized, heteronormalized life. And earlier on, and the outcome of this, and what happens when you don't celebrate this stuff, is like things that I am currently working on in therapy, which is something that I didn't even know I had until my therapist says, "I think you're dealing with internalized homophobia," and I was like, "Fuck." And then you start to go
Yeah.
down this like rabbit hole of how are you supposed to love yourself if everything you ever knew about yourself was to not be loved. So, for anybody out there who's listening who wants to know why we have a pride parade, well, if you ever think that's showing a bunch of people who don't know where to turn for answers and like showing that there's a place on the other side of all this where love will live, then you can go like really shove your head in the sand like an ostrich because I don't want to hear
Well,
it.
I think you bring up the right points, right? Because I think when people think about pride, people are like, "Why do you need a pride parade? Then we want a straight parade." It's like you don't know what our experience was growing up. Like you and I gave a little, look into what we went through as even just like kids, right? And so this is a month where we're just like, we're done hiding and we just want to enjoy ourselves and be out in the world. And even if it's just for a few weeks, like let us have that, right? Why does this need to be political? Why does this need to be a thing? If you don't want to show up and celebrate us, great. Don't show up and celebrate us. But what I'm saying is if anyone's listening and they do love us, we went through some shit and this is our month to be like, we're going to put that aside and we just want to be with our community and people who want to be a part of our community, whether gay or straight, and just want to say, I see you. I want to celebrate you, and I want you to know that you guys are fine. You guys are good. We're here for you, right? And I think people don't realize that pride is almost like our annual like reawakening, and it's also a time where we're all able to just kind of reflect on the struggle that we went through and that the world put us through. So, yeah, we're going to raise our flag. We're going to be happy, and we're going to just like celebrate ourselves because we went through some shit, whether you guys want to hear it or not. I'm talking to, I don't even know who, but like we did. And I think that's where we just want people to recognize that and not think of it as, oh, the gays just want attention. It's not about that at all, right? Like that's never been our intention. We don't want the attention at all. We don't want people to show up to our pride if they don't want to be there to celebrate us. We don't want the attention. We just want to be with our community and we want to feel safe. I think that's
This coming from a community who celebrates meeting somebody, celebrates when they say that they want to spend the rest of their life together, celebrate the day that they make the vow to spend the rest of their lives together, celebrate
exactly.
the day they find out the gender of the baby that they're about to bring into the world for the rest of their lives
Yeah,
together.
they can celebrate what they want to celebrate.
Right.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
exactly.
saying? It's like, well, that's great. Well, then I'm going to celebrate this with my brothers and sisters and
Exactly.
non-binaries all month long. And y'all need to do my beckoning right now. So instead of asking me for shit, I'm going to ask you, Jerry, to go get my coffee this morning. Thank you very much.
Oh, Jerry. Jerry makes horrible coffee, by the way. Don't do Jerry. But
Jerry's the worst coffee maker in the office. I don't even. He's so bad. I fired him. He's not even here anymore.
Oh my God. If I get Jerry at the water cooler, you're not getting back to your desk for another 30 minutes. That person will talk your ear off. Anyway, everyone know the Jerry.
Everyone has a Jerry.
Well, we're excited for Pride Month. We are excited because we are also almost done with season 1 of Out Loud and Laughing, John.
Can you believe that? It's been such a ride with you, and I'm so looking forward to season 2. What were some of your favorite highlights this season?
Are we getting picked up for season 2?
You didn't hear that?
No, I didn't talk to the network.
Well, I found $2.50 in my sock drawer, so $2.50 for all the obsessive decimal placeholder need to knowers. Yeah, let's run it. Let's run it back.
Oh my gosh,
Season
guys,
2.
we are almost done with season 1. We are ending season 1 during Pride. We will be launching season 2 during Pride, so stay tuned for more. We probably will recap a little bit of our fun learnings of season 1 because I do think we learned a lot in this first season, guys. And John and I want to do this because we wanted to learn a lot about each other. We wanted to learn a lot about just podcasting. It's been a journey. So thank you for those who have stayed with us, and hopefully we get more people in season 2.
Yeah. And like I said, lots of exciting things in the works. If you've been following along, you've seen some of our guests come on, which we've been so honored to have. Broadway Dads, Miss Bouvier this season.
Yeah, we have more coming.
Brian from Gay with Kids.
He's coming up. Yep. Oh no, we have had him. Yeah, you're right.
And we're just excited to put more in the can. And in this transition time, this time of transition, just been just so much fun. And I want to wish everybody happy Pride. And I want to
happy Pride, everyone.
Yeah, happy Pride this month as you go out into the world. Obviously, bring all the joy. Obviously, bring all the light. But I also want to remind and hug your friends. I want to remind everybody that we're all going through something, regardless of your affiliations with race, gender, all of the things that we use to identify and design who we are. That everybody's going through a story, and that story is worth celebrating, regardless of what it is.
And love your neighbor. Thanks, everyone.